Hey folks, today we are reading a story from the pages of the Krofft Super Show comic book, which came out in the 70s, was based on the Saturday morning children's program of the same name. And this one is from the adventures of Bigfoot and Wildboy, and it is titled Forest Fury. So Susie is on patrol for her forest ranger father, and she spots some smoke out there on the horizon. And she says, "Come on, big fellow, there's an illegal campfire up ahead. Whoever's responsible is either just plain stupid or deliberately breaking the law. We've had a drought for 6 weeks now." And just based on the wardrobe of those two fellers, it's clear that they are escaped prisoners. That's probably why she says, oh, and then we get the, "Put out the fire, Tony. What do you want to do? Draw attention." Tony says, "We made a clean getaway. Nobody knows that we're within 100 miles of here." And Tony says, "Let's keep it that way." I think that's Tony. I'm losing track already. "Coming back here was a crazy idea." Why did they come back here? Oh, wait, here we go. You'll see how crazy it is when we find that armored car loot. And we get some more expository information here. "I didn't bust out of prison to stay broke. I know exactly where I buried it." And Susie, putting 2 and 2 together, comes up with 4. "They're escaped convicts." And then as Susie turns around to sneak away, she steps on something that makes a noise, and they notice that she's there. "Hey, someone's here." Being the geniuses they are, they immediately identify her as a girl. "It's a girl. Get her. She's heard everything we said." Now, how do they know that? "Stop her before she gets on that horse." That's probably wise. "Easy, big fellow." Oh, that's trouble. She gets thrown from the horse. I don't know if it's because Tony and unnamed convict counterpart scared the horse or what, but there she is getting thrown from the horse. Horse is running away. They decide that she's been, there we go. She's out cold. They figured that out since she's not moving. "Let's get her back to camp. We can tie her up and keep her out of sight." Good plan, good plan. The good news is that those convicts, well, they're being watched. The hawk eyes of Wildboy witness the entire scene, and suddenly the air is filled with the ominous animal yell. I'm not even going to try to make that yell. That would be crazy for me to try to do that on this video. Suffice it to say, though, that is a heck of a yell that calls forth the living legend, the giant Bigfoot. And clearly based on that growling noise and his action stance, you can tell that Bigfoot is ready for action. So Wildboy explains that Susie's in trouble, that there's 2 men that have captured her, and then Bigfoot, well, he knows that Susie is indeed a friend and they must go to her rescue. And as they race to that scene, Wildboy spots danger. "Wait, Bigfoot, they have rifles." Did you hear something? Sounded like a wild animal. Looks like Susie's woken up at this point, but no dialogue from her, at least in this particular panel. Rippling muscles and superhuman strength come into play as Bigfoot picks up a huge boulder. And then I love this. "Bigfoot fix rifles." That's a great way to fix rifles, with ginormous boulders, I've got to say. And hurls it with deadly aim. That's important, toward the campsite as if it were a pebble. Now, the deadly aim piece, and we've got to say, first off, Bigfoot is not, he's not playing around here. I would suspect that could kill those guys if the boulder hit them dead on. And the other thing I worry about is hopefully he does have actually deadly aim, I should say, because we don't want that boulder to hit Susie, because she's a friend. I don't know what I was worried about, though, because he has amazing accuracy, and it's almost like bowling for Bigfoot because he scores a direct hit. Well, he doesn't score a direct hit, because if he did, he would have killed those 2 bozos, but let's keep reading. Frightened out of their wits, they think it's a landslide, and they decide to scram. "Not so fast, villains." Well, actually it says abruptly they're stopped in their tracks by a Wildboy. And he's kind of a quipper here. He's a funny guy because he says, "Going someplace?" And then there, of course, the standard comic book dialogue here. "Where'd he come from?" "I'll take care of him." Seriously, I don't even know what these guys are thinking, because they are indeed, as the narration box says foolish because they think that they can take Wildboy, who moves with the speed of a gazelle. And then this. Oh my gosh, really? You're coming at Bigfoot with a stick on like a torch? That's not going to do any good. Now they are doing exactly the right thing, which is turn, tail, and run, and hope that Bigfoot is a slow runner. If I remember this show back in the day, it was the old slow motion running sequences, but that was supposed to indicate super fast running, so I don't think they're going to get away. Bigfoot's steps pound the earth like thunder as he rapidly gains on the terrified men. So yeah, they're slow runners. And who are they screaming to at this point? Help! Help! I mean, there's no one around but Susie, and they have her tied up. Other than that, it's just Bigfoot and Wildboy. Kind of crazy dialogue. I don't know about you, but I kind of think that Wildboy is crushing a little bit on Susie here. He checks to see if she's alright, and she's okay. She's just hit her head a little bit from being thrown by the horse. Hopefully it wasn't some chunks from that boulder that Bigfoot threw down at the convicts. So it looks like things are going to get worse before they get better here. That torch that, remember, the one guy was trying to fight Bigfoot with, well, he threw it down and started a fire. And so now they've got to get out of there fast or they're going to be burnt to a crisp. So Bigfoot's got the bad guys, and then Wildboy says, "Fire, Bigfoot, fire!" And then Bigfoot demonstrates his tremendous ability to recognize people. Wildboy, Susie. This is helpful for us to understand that they're in imminent danger. The fire is moving fast, and then Wildboy smartly says that they should run along this dry riverbed. Would be nicer if it was filled with water. And Bigfoot, well, he's just gotten tired of carrying these fellers, so he's put them down and commanded them to move, which again makes sense. I guess he's just going to keep an eye on them, but he's also got to worry about the fire. So, like I said, this has turned into quite the situation for our heroes. I like the usage of the term lick here. Listen to this, as the flames lick hungrily through the parched, dry trees. I've never heard flames and lick used together, but it works. And then Susie points out that that fire is getting closer and closer. And then, wouldn't you know it, a fateful wind blows some sparks and a second fire starts. And now there's a fire ahead of them. There's a fire behind them. They are indeed trapped. Unless what? I think Wildboy has something up his sleeve here. Bigfoot, look! Oh, I shouldn't have even tried to make that noise, but it's intriguing to Bigfoot. You can tell by the look in his eyes. High above on the mountainside stands an old abandoned water tower. Now let me ask you this. How many times do you see high above on a mountainside an old abandoned water tower? Not often. I've got to say, these two, well, Susie and the convicts as well, but these two are so lucky. Wait, maybe I spoke too soon, because apparently there's no way to reach it and the fire continues. Well, it just continues to rage between them. But suddenly, Bigfoot's animal sense of survival takes over, and he rips up a tree trunk as if it were a twig. I don't know how many of you remember this show when it was on TV in the 70s, but Bigfoot was a superhero. You've kind of gathered that, but he also had a lot of the same powers that the $6 Million Man had. As a matter of fact, when he ran and did things like this, they used the same kind of sound effects, if I remember correctly. Check it out, and he hurls that tree through the air like a giant javelin. And the huge chunk spears the ancient water tower, and, I would have thought the thing was bone dry, but it's not. It's full of water, causing that water tower to burst. And then, fortunately for everyone involved, tons of water spill forth and tumble down on the mountainside. Whew, that was a close one. Yep, just as I expected, clearing a path through the fire. Quick, we could climb to the top away from the fire. And then how often do you think the noise of a helicopter as the welcome clatter? But that's exactly what it is. Soon the welcome clatter of a helicopter is heard. And this is the final panel of the story. The convicts are talking about this giant furry beast and a wild boy, and of course U.S. Forestry Service. They don't believe him. Sure. what you been smoking out here, fellers? And then Susie's dad says, when your horse came back alone, I got worried. Then the fire, lucky that old water tower gave way when it did. And then Susie says, yes, Dad, wasn't it? And then you can see Bigfoot and Wildboy there kind of hidden away, smiling, because they know, once again, they have truly saved the day.